Henry, 1862 to 1910. William Sidney, Porn-American writer, is Henry. Batinswater William Sidney Porter. एक अमेरिकन लेखक आहे, better known by his pen name O. Henry. ज्याला त्याच्या उपनावाने O. Henry म्हणून अधिक ओळखले जाते. He was a voracious reader since childhood. तो लहानपणापासून वाचनाच्या अत्यंत आवडीनुसार वाचक होता. He started a humorous weekly, The Rolling Stone. त्याने The Rolling Stone नावाचा एक विनोदी साप्ताहिक सुरू केला. And when the venture failed, he joined the Houston Post. आणि जेव्हा हा उपक्रम अपयशी ठरला, त्याने Houston Postमध्ये as reporter, columnist, and occasional cartoonist. पत्रकार, स्तंभलेखक आणि कधीकधी cartoonist म्हणून काम करायला सुरुवात केली. The story, The Cop and the Anthem, is one of O. Henry's well-known stories. The Cop आणि The Anthem ही O. Henryच्या प्रसिद्ध कथा आहे. To describe his style of writing, त्याच्या लेखनशैलीचे वर्णन करण्यासाठी, people have often used the term smile with tears. लोकांनी आंसूंचा स्मित हा शब्द वापरला आहे, which implies his twisted way of thoughts and endings in almost every story. जो त्याच्या विचारांच्या वर्णाबद्दल आणि जवळ-जवळ प्रत्येक कथेतल्या समापनाबद्दल सूचित करतो. In this story, the main character, Soapy, is a vagabond. या कथेत मुख्य पात्र, Soapy, एक भटक्या आहे, and a person with a criminal background. आणि एक गुन्हेगारी पार्श्वभूमी असलेला व्यक्ती आहे. He makes different plans to re-enter the prison, तो तुरुंगात पुन्हा प्रवेश करण्यासाठी वेगवेगळ्या योजनांची आखणी करतो, as he has no shelter to protect himself from the severe winter. कारण त्याच्याकडे तीव्र हिवाळ्यात स्वतःचे संरक्षण करण्यासाठी काही आश्रय नाही. The story ends in an unexpected way. कथा प्रत्याशित पद्धतीने समाप्त होते. O. Henry has depicted Soapy's futile attempts to get arrested. O. Henry ने सोपीच्या अटकवण्याच्या व्यर्थ प्रयत्नांचे चित्रण केले आहे in a very humorous vein. अतिशय विनोदी शैलीत. The Cop and the Anthem. The Cop and the Anthem, Police ani Ganen. Soapy left his bench and strolled out of the square and across the level sea of asphalt where Broadway and Fifth Avenue flow together. सोपीने त्याची बेंच सोडली आणि चौकातून बाहेर पडला आणि अस्फाल्टच्या समांतर समुद्रात गेला, जिथे ब्रॉडवे आणि फिफ्थ अव्हेन्यू एकत्र येतात. Up Broadway he turned and stopped at a luxurious cafe. तो ब्रॉडवेमध्ये वळला आणि एका आलिशान कॅफेसमोर थांबला. Soapy had confidence in himself from the lowest button of his vest upward. सोपीला त्याच्या वेस्टच्या सर्वात खालील बटनापासून आत्मविश्वास होता. He was shaven and his coat was trim and his neat black bow had been presented to him by a lady missionary on Thanksgiving Day. तो दाढी केलेला होता, त्याची कोट चांगली होती आणि त्याला Thanksgiving दिवशी एका महिला मिशनरने दिलेला काळा बो बांधला होता. If only he could reach a table in the restaurant unsuspected, success would be his. जर त्याला रेस्टॉरंटमध्ये अनामिकपणे एका टेबलपर्यंत पोहोचता आले, तर यश त्याचे होईल. The portion of him that would show above the table would raise no doubt in the waiter's mind. जे भाग टेबलाच्यावर दिसेल, त्यावर waiterच्या मनात कोणतीही शंका येणार नाही. A roasted mallard duck, thought Soapy, would be about the thing with a bottle of wine and then some cheese, a cup of coffee and a cigar. सोपीने विचारले की एक भाजलेले मॉलार्ड डक, एका बाटली वाईनचा, काही चीज, एक कप कॉफी आणि एक सिगार असावे. $1 for the cigar would be enough. Cigarसाठी $1 पुरेसा असेल. The total would not be so high as to call forth any extreme of revenge from the cafe management. एकूण रक्कम इतकी उंच नसते की cafe व्यवस्थापना करून कोणती कठोर कारवाई मागवावी. And yet the meat would leave him filled and happy for the journey to his winter island. तथापि मांस त्याला भरलेले आणि आनंदी ठेवेल त्याच्या हिवाळ्याच्या बेटाकडे जाण्यासाठी. But as Soapy set foot inside the restaurant door, the head waiter's eye fell upon his tattered trousers and decadent shoes. परंतु सोपीने रेस्टॉरंटच्या दरवाज्यात पाय ठेवताच मुख्य वेटरची नजर त्याच्या घाणेरड्या पोट आणि बिघडलेल्या बुटांवर पडली. Strong and ready hands turned, ताकदवान आणि तत्पर हातांनी वळवले. Him about and conveyed him in silence and haste to the sidewalk. त्याला एका बाजूला फिरवून तो गप्पपणे आणि वेगाने फडफडणाऱ्या फुटपाथवर नेला and averted the ignoble fate of the menaced mallard. आणि संकटात असलेल्या मलार्डचे अपमानजनक भविष्य टाळले. Soapy turned off Broadway. सोपीने ब्रॉडवेवरून वळण घेतले. It seemed that his route to the coveted island was not to be an easy one. त्याला हवे असलेल्या बेटाकडे जाणारा मार्ग सोपा असेल असे दिसत नव्हते. Some other way of entering the limbo must be devised. Khedet प्रवेश करण्याचा दुसरा मार्ग शोधावा लागेल. At a corner of 6th Avenue, electric lights 6th of Henuchia Eka Kopadiat, electric lights and cunningly displayed wares behind plate glass made a shop window attractive. आणि प्लेट ग्लासच्या मागे चित्राने प्रदर्शित केलेले वस्त्र एक आकर्षक दुकानाची खिडकी तयार करत होते. Soapy took a stone and dashed it through the glass. Soapyने एक दगड उचलला आणि तो काचेत फेकला. People came running round the corner, a policeman in the lead. लोक पोप्याभोवती धावले, एक पोलीस आघाडीवर होता. Soapy stood still with his hands in his pockets. Soapy हात खिशात घालून स्थिर उभा होता and smiled at the sight of brass buttons. आणि पित्राच्या बटनांच्या दृश्यावर हसला. Where's the man that done that? Inquired the officer agitatedly. हे काम करणारा माणूस कुठे आहे? पोलीस उत्सुकतेने विचारला. Don't you think that I might have had something to do with it? तुम्हाला असं वाटत नाही का की मी यामध्ये काही संबंध ठेवतो? Said Soapy with a friendly voice. सोपीने मित्रत्वाच्या आवाजात, as one greets good fortune, जसे कुणी चांगल्या भाग्याचे स्वागत करतो. The policeman refused to accept Soapy even as a clue. Police Soapyला एक सूत्र म्हणून स्वीकारायला तयार नव्हता. Men who smash windows do not remain to chat with the police. काच फेकणारे लोक पोलिसांशी बोलण्यासाठी थांबत नाहीत. They take to their heels. ते पायावरून पडून जातात. The policeman saw a man halfway down the block running to catch a car. पोलिसाने एक माणूस ब्लॉकच्या मध्यभागी गाडी पकडण्यासाठी धावताना पाहिला. With drawn club, he joined in the pursuit. पोलिसाने खाटी उचलली आणि त्या मागे धावला. Soapy, with disgust in his heart, drifted along. Soapy मनात तिरस्कार बागून तिरकी धावला, twice unsuccessful. दोन वेळा अपयशी ठरला. On the opposite side of the street was a restaurant of no great pretensions. रस्त्याच्या विरोधी बाजूला एक साधा restaurant होते. It catered to large appetites and modest purses. हे मोठ्या भुकेला आणि साध्या खिशांना पुरवठा करत होते. Its crockery and atmosphere were thick. येथील भांडी आणि वातावरण गडद होते. Its soup and nappary thin. त्याच्या soup आणि nappary कमी होते. Into this place, Soapy betook himself without challenge. या ठिकाणी सोपीने कोणत्याही विरोधाशिवाय प्रवेश केला. At a table, he sat and consumed beefsteak, flapjacks, donuts, and pie. तो एका टेबलवर बसला आणि beefsteak, flapjack, donuts, आणि pie खाल्ले. And then he told the waiter the fact that the minutest coin and himself were total strangers. आणि मग त्याने waiterला सांगितले की सर्वात लहान नाणे आणि तो स्वतः परस्पर अनोळखी आहेत. Now get busy and call a cop, said Soapy. आता कामाला लागा आणि एक पोलीस बोलवा, सोपीने म्हटले. And don't keep a gentleman waiting. आणि एक सज्जनाला थांबू नका. No cop for you, said the waiter. तुझ्यासाठी कुठला पोलीस नाही, waiterने म्हटले, with a voice like butter cakes, mu avazat, and an eye like the cherry in the Manhattan cocktail. आणि Manhattan cocktailमधील चेरियासारखी नजर. Hey, Con! Arre! Con! Neatly upon his left ear on the callous pavement, two waiters pitched Soapy. त्याच्या डाव्या कानावर थेट ठोस पवमेंटवर दोन वेटरांनी सोपीला फेकले. He arose, joint by joint, as though एक करून उभा झाला. जसे a carpenter's rule opens and dusted his clothes. एक शिल्पकाराचा नियम उघडला आणि त्याने त्याचे कपडे झटकले. Arrest seemed now but an elusive dream. अटक एक धूसर स्वप्नासारखी वाटत होती. The island seemed very far away. Island खूप दूर असल्यासारखा वाटत होता. A policeman who stood before a drugstore 2 doors away laughed and walked down the street. दवाखान्यापासून 2 दरवाजे दूर उभा असलेला पोलीस हसला आणि रस्त्यावर चालला. Soapy was seized with a sudden fear that some dreadful enchantment had rendered him immune to arrest. सोपीला अचानक भयाने पकडले की काही भयंकर जादूने त्याला अटक करण्यापासून मुक्त केले आहे. He was in a state of panic, तो घाबरलेल्या अवस्थेत होता, and when he came upon another policeman lounging grandly in front of a glittering theater, आणि जेव्हा तो एक चमचमनाच्या नाट्यगृहाच्या समोर भव्यपणे बसलेल्या दुसऱ्या पोलिसावर आला, he caught at the immediate straw of disorderly conduct. त्याने अनियमित वर्तनच्या तात्काळ शेवटावर पडले. On the sidewalk, Soapy began to yell drunken gibberish at the top of his harsh voice. फुटपाथवर सोपीने आपल्या कठोर आवाजात मद्यपान केलेले गडबड आवाज काढायला सुरुवात केली. He danced, howled, raved, and otherwise disturbed the skies. तो नाचला, भयंकर आवाजात गेला, वेडे छाल्यासारखा वागला आणि आकाशात गडबड केली. The policeman merely twirled his club, polisane fakt tyachi kati firvali, turned his back to Soapy and remarked to a citizen, Soapy kare patvavun ek nagrikashi bolla. 'Tis one of them Yale lads celebrating the goose egg they give to the Hartford College. Hey Hartford College-la dilelia gij andiache utsav, sazra karnache yelche mulampaki eka hai. Noisy, but no harm. Gondhara hai, but kahi nuksan nahi. We've instructions to let them be. Amhalatyana mokre tevanyache nirdesh ahet. Disconsolate, Soapy stopped his unavailing racket. Nirash chalelia Soapy ne tyacha vyarth avaz thambavla. Would never a policeman lay hands on him? Katichek polis tyachavar hat tevnar nahika? In his fancy, the island seemed an unattainable Arcadia. Tyacha kalpnet, island ek mivinar nahi ashi Arcadia vatat hoti. He buttoned his thin coat against the chilling wind. Tyane thand vanya pasun bachav karanyasati tyacha pata coat button kela. In a cigar store, he saw a well-dressed man lighting a cigar at the swinging light. Eka cigar dukanat tyane ek changlia kapadyatil manus swinging lightver cigar lavatana pahile. He had set his silk umbrella by the door on entering. Tyane pravesh kartana tyachi reshmi chhatri darajava tevli hoti. Soapy stepped inside, grabbed the umbrella, and sauntered off with it slowly. Soapy at geli, chhatri uchalli ani haruch bahir geli. The man at the cigar light followed hastily. Cigar cha prakashavar aslela manus tatka magova khet hota. My umbrella, he said sternly. Maji chhatri, tyane gambhir prane sangitle. Oh, is it? Sneered Soapy, adding insult to petty larceny. Oh, aheka? Soapy ne kami chorai cha apmana sa hasun sangitle. Well, why don't you call a policeman? Ta tumhi police ka bolwat nahi? I took it. Your umbrella. Miti ghetli. Tumchi chhatri. Why don't you call a cop? Tumhi police ka bolwat nahi? There stands one on the corner. Kopyavar ek ubha hai. The umbrella owner slowed his steps. Chatricha malka ne apalya payanna mand kele. Soapy did likewise. Soapy ne dekhil tasech kele, with a premonition that luck would again run against him. Tyala se vatle ki bhagya punha tyacha virodhat zanara hai. The policeman eyed the two curiously. Police don janana utsukte ne bakht hota. Of course, said the umbrella man. Hoye, Chatricha mansane metle. Well, you know how these mistakes occur if it's your umbrella. Chala, tumhala mahiti ahe ki chuki che kase hote. Jarti tumchi chhatri asel. I hope you'll excuse me. Mi asha karto ki tumila maaf karal. I picked it up this morning in a restaurant. Miad sakari eka restaurantam thieti uchalli. If you recognize it as yours, why I hope you'll. Jar tumhala te tumche mani asel, tad mi asha karto ki tumhi. It's mine, said Soapy savagely. Artat, te maje ahe, Soapy ne krodhane sangitle. The ex-umbrella man retreated. Purvicha chatricha mansane mage hetle. The policeman hurried to assist a tall blonde in an opera cloak across the street in front of a streetcar that was approaching 2 blocks away. Police ekunj soneri satrila madat karnyasati rastyacha karevercha tramasmor tatardine gela. Soapy walked eastward through a street damaged by improvements. Soapy ne sudharnamure hanigrast rastyavar purv deshela chalat geli. He hurled the umbrella angrily into an excavation. Tyane ragane chhatri eka khanat fakely. He muttered against the men who wear helmets and carry clubs. Tyane helmet kalacha ani kati geun fernacha mansavar santapane bolle. Because he wanted to fall into their clutches, they seemed to regard him as a king who could do nothing wrong. Tyala tyansha tavarit sapadanyachi itcha hoti, tyamure tyala sa razamant hote jo kahi chukiche karushak nahi. At length, Soapy reached one of the avenues to the east, where the glitter and turmoil was but faint. Shevdi Soapy purveka de ek rastyavar pohochala jithe chamakani gondhar keval aspasht hota. He dragged himself toward Madison Square, for the homing instinct survives even when the home is a park bench. To Madison Square kade khechat gela karan khari yenyachi bhavna astitvat rahate, agadi jeva ghar ek park bench aste. But on an unusually quiet corner, Soapy came to a standstill. Parantu ek anoke shant kopapyat Soapy thambali. Here was an old church, quaint and rambling and gabled. Ite ek juni church hoti, ji akarshak ani aniyamit hoti. Through one violet-stained window, a soft light glowed. Ek jambhalya rangacha kachamandun ek saumya prakash chamakla, where, no doubt, the organist loitered over the keys, making sure of his mastery of the coming Sabbath anthem. Jithe shankanahi, organist chavivar thambla hota, येना त्या शनिवारीच्या गाण्यावर त्याच्या प्रभुत्वाची खात्री करत होता. For there drifted out to Soapy's ears sweet music that caught and held him transfixed against the convolutions of the iron fence. कारण तिथे सोपीच्या कानात गोड संगीत पोहोचले, जे त्याला लोखंडाच्या कुंपणाच्या वक्रतेकडे थांबवून ठेवले. The moon was above, full and radiant. Chandravar hota, purn ani tejasvi. Vehicles and pedestrians were few. Gadya ani padchari kami hote. Sparrows twittered sleepily in the eaves, or a little while the scene might have been a country churchyard. Gulabamatya chimania झोपेत चिंच्या वासात पसल्या होत्या किंवा थोड्याच वेळात दृश्य एक ग्रामीण churchyard सारखे असू शकते. And the anthem that the organist played cemented Soapy to the iron fence. Ani organistne वाजवलेले Gane Soapyla lokhandaच्या कुंपणावर ठरवले, for he had known it well in the days when his life contained such things as mothers and roses and ambitions and friends and immaculate thoughts and collars. कारण त्याला हे चांगले माहिती होते जे त्याच्या जीवनमातांच्या, गुलाबांच्या, महत्वाकांक्षांच्या, मित्रांच्या, पवित्र विचारांच्या आणि कॉलरांचा समावेश होता. The conjunction of Soapy's receptive state of mind and the influences about the old church brought a sudden and wonderful change in his soul. Soapyच्या ग्रहणशील मनस्थिती आणि जुन्या चर्चाभोवतीच्या प्रभावामुळे त्याच्या आत्म्यात एक अचानक आणि अद्भुत बदल झाला. He viewed with rising horror the pit into which he had tumbled. त्याने त्या गडद खड्यात टाकले जाऊन वाढण्याचे अभियाने पाहिले, the degraded days, unworthy desires, dead hopes, wrecked faculties, and base motives that made up his existence. त्याच्या अस्तित्वाला बनवणारे हे गिरगिटलेले दिवस, अशक्त इच्छाएं, मृत आशा, नष्ट झालेल्या क्षमताएं आणि नीच प्रेरणाएं. And also in a moment his heart responded thrillingly to this strange mood. आणि एका क्षणात त्याचे हृदय या विचित्र मूडवर थरथरणारे प्रतिसाद दिले. A strong impulse moved him to एक मजबूत प्रेरणा त्याला चालवली की. Battle with his desperate fact. त्याच्या नाशकारी वास्तवाशी लढाई. He would pull himself out of the mire and would make a man of himself again. तो चिखलातून बाहेर काढेल आणि पुन्हा एक माणूस बनेल. He would conquer the evil that had enslaved him. तो त्याला गुलाम बनवण्याच्या दुष्टेवर विजय मिळवेल. There was time. He was young yet. त्याच्याकडे वेळ होता. तो अजून तरुण होता. He would resurrect his old eager ambitions and pursue them without faltering. तो त्याच्या जुन्या उत्साही महत्वाकांक्षा पुन्हा जिवंत करेल आणि त्यांचा पाठलाग करेल, कोणतीही अडचण न येता. Those solemn but sweet organ notes had set up a revolution in him. त्या गंभीर पण गोड organ notesने त्याच्यात एक क्रांती निर्माण केली होती. Tomorrow he would go into the roaring downtown district and find work. उद्या तो गडगडणाच्या downtown जिल्ह्यात जाईल आणि काम शोधेल. A fur importer had once offered him a place as driver. एक फर आयातदाराने एकदा त्याला ड्रायव्हर म्हणून जागा ऑफर केली होती. He would be somebody in the world. तो जगात कोणीतरी बनेल. He would, though. Soapy felt a hand laid on arm. सोपीने त्याच्या हातावर एक हात ठेवलेला अनुभवला. He looked quickly around into the impassive face of a policeman. त्याने त्वरित पोलिसाच्या निराकार चेहऱ्यात बघितले. What are you doing here? asked the officer. तू इथे काय करतोस? अधिकाऱ्याने विचारले. Nothing, said Soapy. काहीही नाही, सोपीने म्हटले. Then come along, said the policeman. मग चला, पोलिसाने म्हटले. 3 months on the island, said the magistrate in the police court the next morning. Islandवर 3 महिने, पोलीस न्यायालयात दुसऱ्या दिवशी magistrateने म्हटले. Oh, Henry,